Welcome to the PTA Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host, John Caligiuri, and coming by my co-host, Nick Kelling. Nick, how you doing today?
Great.
Nick, can you fill us in? What have you been up to, my friend?
Helping a lot of people with leases. I'm also talking to a lot of subcontractors to network. We're going to start building a house soon, hopefully.
Awesome.
So looking for land.
Land in Texas. So you on the land hunt right now?
I'm on the land hunt.
Land hunt in Texas. A tale as old as time. At least there's no Comanche or anything this time.
It really is.
Yeah. Let's roll into this clip and see what he's got to say. And go.
Keep saying this. I'm gonna keep saying it. It's boring advice. Nobody listens to me because it's not sexy or exciting. It doesn't mean it's bad. You gotta buy a house every single year in the best neighborhood, the best locations, the best property, and put 3 to 5% down on that sucker, and find some way to make a cash flow when you move out. Buy a small multifamily, buy a big property with a lot of bedrooms and rent them out. Buy something that's got an ADU that you can live in, and Airbnb the main house. You got all these options, but do something like that where you consistently buy a new property every single year for 10 years. You will never regret listening to this.
I think that's some sound real estate advice. I think it's stupid simple. I agree with it, but I think it's harder to do now with just prices being so asinine. If you can put 3% down, 3 to 5% down on a 400, like in New Jersey, you're gonna have to pay like for a house with more than one bedroom, you're gonna pay like $450,000.
Yeah, I've heard people are getting cash buyers. I was listening to this one guy talk about. He bought a house cash, ran the numbers, but he was out of the game for like a year or two. But labor and materials went up, so he actually lost money on the flip because he was using old numbers.
Yeah. Well, no, flipping houses, I think, is probably one of the riskiest businesses you can get into. There's so many moving factors.
Mm-hmm. And then if you don't have a good inspection, and you think the foundation is good, or you rip up the flooring and you see the subflooring is all fucked up, but you didn't account for that, it's gonna be tough. Otherwise, you just have to put lipstick on a pig and hopefully someone doesn't realize it's a pig.
Yeah.
Do you really want to do that to someone?
That is bad business practices, and I think if you do that, it eventually will come. You may get away with it now, but down the road, it definitely will come bite you in the butt because that's just bad karma.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And I think my only experience with what you're describing is my house in Wheaton. It's less than 1,000 square foot, and it was built in the 50s. And we're like, oh, we'll just do the bathroom is basically a porta-john with a shower. It's probably the same size, if not small. Like, those heavy-duty porta-johns? It's smaller than that. You know what I'm saying? It's not a very big one whatsoever. And it was like, holy crap. You have to add 15% to your budget. So, like all that house, I think that's why building and house flipping, all that stuff is to me, is probably the riskiest industry you can get into because your margins are slim. And you're going to go above budget.
Yeah. If you don't run the numbers right. You always got to have the contingencies.
Even if you're like a pro, even if you've been doing it for 20 years, you're going to run into things.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Everyone that I've been talking to, each deal, each build is a little different. And same with real estate. Like, not each deal is the same. It's going to be a little different each time. You're dealing with different people, different circumstances. It's always a little different.
I think that's like the beauty, like to go back to the clip of buying one house a year for a decade. And I think I think this is a good rule of life, but if you're consistent with anything, you will eventually get better at it and you will see your results over time. It's funny. I saw something like a YouTube thing, or I think my dad told me this. He's like, do you know the fastest way to get what you want? I was like, what? He's like, do it slow and methodical. And that's really it. If you consistently do something over and over and over again, that's how you get good at it. You can't just like wake up one day and be a real estate mogul. I think, I not to preach because dude, I'm 25 and have loads of failure and I'm a jackass, but that's kind of like what I'm coming to of like, if you're trying to get anything done or trying to reach any goals, like I think with our generation, Nick, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this because this is how I feel. Like it's always like, especially with like crypto and all these, like you see a 19-year-old kid with a Lambo or some guy flexing on social media. And like I know me and Frank did this when we were doing the trucking company. We had so much pressure on ourselves to be millionaires at 25. And just like looking back on it as a 25-year-old right now and just being like, dude, people work their whole lives. They don't even make $1 million. And we said we would fail if we weren't millionaires by 25. So like, that's just so dumb. That's such a dumb mentality that we had. Like we were so incorrect. And I think that's kind of go back to the clip and like kind of I agree with it of like, it's going to take, if you want to be successful in anything, I think real estate specifically, you got to wait your time. You got to just consistently wake up every day. And it's like, it's a daily thing of like, yo, I'm going to buy my coffee today, or I'm going to save the $5, make my own. I'm going to go out to eat, or I'm going to have my PB&J. It's like a daily like real estate's a daily thing. Cause now, especially now with numbers being so high and home prices being inflated, like you have to be your P's and Q's every day. Like, am I actively saving? Am I doing what I need to do?
Is my savings growing? Is my business growing?
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
And like, is your business growing? Are you actively taking proactive steps? Because like, I don't think a business can grow. I think it's impossible for a business to grow every year. I know we live in a terminal growth theory where if you're not growing, you're dying. But like, I just don't see, like, sometimes like you reach your market cap, you know what I'm saying? But are you getting better? Like, is your systems getting, I think that's a good way to measure, like, is this getting better? Are you hiring better people? Are you, the people that you have, are you growing them? Are they getting better? Are they fulfilled? And I think it said, like, my critique about the American culture is that like everything is money driven. Like we used to worship God, now we worship the God of money. And that's like the barometer of everything. And it's like, I think that's an incorrect way to view the world. I don't think we always looked at it as like, yo, it's like, if you have a business, how are my employees operating? Are they getting better? Are they being fulfilled? As opposed to how much money are we making? Which, yeah, that's pretty liberal, I guess. But it's like also,
not really. I feel like just looking out for your fellow man, your fellow employees. Like, hey man, are you doing good? Are you having a good lifestyle? Is this what you want? And if they're like, no, this is not what I like. You're not going to grow as a business if you don't have happy employees, you know?
Because if you have
what can I do to make your life better? What can I do to make sure you're happy? And if they're like, man, I really want to take this vacation. I don't have enough PTO. All right, how do I make that happen for you? And then they're going to work a lot harder for you because you're looking out for them.
Yeah, and
that's good business.
I learned that lesson. I don't know if you have this thought, but when we were in the military, think about all the staff NCOs who hated their lives and made it worse for like the junior enlisted, and how many squared away people got out because of like, let's just view it from like, let's view the Marine Corps as like a corporation. Like imagine you had a bad like a market manager, and he actively got rid of your best people. That guy would get fired. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like it's not just like, it is like a money making thing, but like if people are not fulfilled and they hate their life and they're just there because they need a job, you're gonna, like, even if you onboard the best people, eventually you're gonna lose them because the people decisions are just making their lives miserable. And I think that is why it's important to really invest in your employees. And I would say this, PNC does a great job in investing. That's a shout out to PNC Bank. I love PNC. They really do invest in us, and I think that's one thing they do really well. And I would, and I try to say that as much as possible. PNC really loves investing in their employees, and I think they do that really well. And I think that's something the Marine Corps does horribly. On the flip side,
yeah, unless you're bringing something to them that's new, they could care less about you. You're just a number. Yeah,
that's true. And I'm assuming there's corporations out there like that, but I will say this, like, I have to tip my cap to PNC Bank. They really do care about their employees. which is very nice to see. They care about the career development as well.
Hmm.
And that's different.
Because no one wants to be in a job where it's a dead end. That's how you get people to leave. Finding a job that, I can actually get promoted and learn more in this job than if I stay here and I'm just a clerk or something for 30 years. Like, I'm not going to get any fulfillment out of that.
I think people need to be, I don't need to be fulfilled, but people want to be like respected at work. Of like, there's people who are janitors for 30 years, but if you treat the janitor well and with respect and pay him a fair wage, allow him to go on vacation, allow him to raise a family, he's not going to complain. He'll bust your ass for you.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I still remember the janitor that I had in high school. He was awesome.
Yeah.
And he just loved, like he loved, working at a school too. And he was like this old weightlifter. He used to be like just huge and would like compete and stuff like that. I don't know. And then he got a janitor at the school that he went to high school for, and like his pictures up on like plaques and stuff for like breaking records and stuff. He just liked being in school. Like he didn't like being a teacher, but he liked like influence, athletes, I guess. And be like, hey, I used to be able to deadlift 600 pounds in high school. Like you know.
He was that classic 80s guy. He just came back.
Yeah, exactly.
He came back.
Yeah, and he had great personality.
I think that's what to go back to our last episode, I think that's what makes schools different, like the public school system different. Like, I don't think that you have that person in the Chicago public school. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think you have that student who had such a good time in high school who came back and was like a glue guy for future generations such as yourself. Because like, shout out Coach Rex. Like, he was that guy. Like, his dad was the coach there. He came back, glue guy to Wheaton North, where I went to high school. Like, I can think of like, shout out Miss Martin. I know you're not listening, but you're a great math teacher. I think that's what makes the American public school. That's when the American public school operates at its best, is when you have the glue people, like the intangibles of, if you treat the students right, and then the students who love it come back and treat the students right again. Like, I don't think the public school system is going to be solved with money. I think that's such an American new age style of thinking. Like, let's just throw money at the problem and it'll get better. Like, let's just give everyone a MacBook and they'll be happy. It's like, no, you need someone who was who could bench deadlift 600 pounds and comes back as a janitor and then like talk shit to all. You know what I'm saying? Like, that is just as important as I would say that's more important than a MacBook laptop for every student. Like, you need people like that.
Oh yeah, 100%. And a public school without that and a private school with that, the private school would thrive. A public school with that, a private school without that, the public school will thrive. It's more about the people in the system than it is about the system itself.
For sure. I completely agree. I think that's a good place to wrap it up. Do you have anything else to add, Nick?
No, buy a house a year.
Buy a house a year, baby. God bless, and have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much for listening.